Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next meeting of the Bridge Book Club with where we're discussing Intermissive Course with the author Tathiana Mota. So tonight, this is the second to the last meeting, and we have one more to go. So this will be a great meeting. We're going to be discussing the last two questions of the last two topics of the Intermissive Course test. So yeah, let's get into it. Please note that we are recording this session and it will be available. We have people who are not able to join us live, but they will be watching the video on the YouTube later. So the session is recorded. And if you have anything you want to ask during the session, feel free to just unmute yourselves or raise your hand or put your question in the chat. So feel free, okay? So now I'll pass it over to Tathiana.
Hello, everyone. How are you? I hope you guys are well and ready for the last two chapters of the book. And it's been quite a journey, right? At least for me, to read the book again and to think about so many interesting topics on the Intermissive Course and think about my experiences and my praxis as well. So there has been a lot of self-reflection to me throughout the whole sessions of the book club, and I hope it's worked for you as well. So today we are going to talk about the last two chapters, but before we start, I want to hear you guys your experiences about the last session we had and the intermission. Remember? Do you guys remember you had some tasks maybe to do? Okay, so how was it? Did you have any kind of experience, ideas in terms of retrocognitions? Did you apply the technique? How was it?
I'm happy to jump in because I'm just reminding myself, I'm just looking at my notes because I read that first chapter I read pretty much straight away after the last meeting, and then the last chapter I read today. But I did the intermission a while ago as well. And I think so there's a few things, but just spending the 30 minutes connecting with past lives, just that whole idea was really a good exercise. It brought up a lot of things, not necessarily specifically like a clear memory of a different life, but just looking at different currents in my life now from that lens, and felt like it was broadening the scope, right? Why are these dynamics that I'm having with people like this? Why there's certain traits in myself that seem to have been around for such a long time. Yeah, it was really helpful. And the other thing that happened spontaneously during that period was, for the first time ever, I had an instant where I had the sense of a past life in Australia, which I've never had. So I've never had a sense here. Like, I've often felt a bit like I'm like a visitor. I'm like, what's my connection with this place? Why am I here? Yeah, I was reading something, and as I was reading a certain set of words, I got this whole, like, a set of images and feelings and associations of myself as a white person in an early settlement period here. So, I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but it was an interesting thing to arise as this was the theme, and that was before I'd read. That was actually before I'd read the chapter, done the exercise. So, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Were you reading anything related to Australia or?
Yeah. So I was reading a historical account of actually up in the Cairns region of some white settler speaking about Aboriginal people in a particular way. And that's what kind of, it's like I connected with the way that person saw Aboriginal people, saw the land, saw his role here. And so, you know, I'm not either I really connected with that guy's like that Holothorcine of that particular era of Europeans here. That's a possibility, but it felt very internal. So it felt very somehow that I had been part of that Holothorcine, perhaps more personally. Yeah, not sure. But it's interesting that it was relating to that area because out of all of Australia, the only place where I've had this feeling of, oh, this is really familiar and kind of a bit like home has been that Cairns region.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
everywhere else
interesting.
has felt quite foreign to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Did you guys study any time in past or culture or country, region or anything? Cool. All right, guys. So for today, we are going to start with chapter 9, which is healthy self-retrocognitions. But before we start, I saw that in our WhatsApp group, Mika asked a question about the stages of the group Karmic Course, right? Did you guys have the chance to see her comments and question? Do you wanna tell us what your thoughts were, Mika?
I don't. I mean, my question is that because I have so many memories from what I think it's intermissive course, but I also, it's so interesting. One of the vivid one is with me being with some aliens, so to speak. We were all together in I don't know, some kind of a university. And I remember the teacher, he is not human. I met him after that in 2 other extra physical experiences. And I was over there with some friends and they were not human. And we were preparing ourselves to go together to visit some other planets. And I'm thinking about, for this, this is one of my most vivid, and I still remember any details and so many details. And every time when I'm looking to a sci-fi movie, I'm trying to find them, to find their energies and their places. And yeah, this is, I'm thinking that, of course, I found out that this is maybe one room or one class from the intermissive course I took. But in the same time, I have so other memories about me taking part to some classroom where we were studying something about religions, about working with energy, about how to be connected with earth. For me, this is, I don't understand how come that I remember, I would say, things from different workshop, different classes. It's like, it's not in a steady upline evolution. For me, I'm learning about, I don't know, about shamanism. I remember those classes when I was learning about shamanism, about religion, about so many other things. But in the same time, I still have these memories about my life from other planets, or my life visiting with my friends' life on other planets. And I would like to know more about this, how maybe it's a kind of university with so many I would like to know more about those intermissive courses we took during our intermissive period.
Yeah, I would like to know too. I've heard many kinds of experiences similar to the one you have just mentioned, that people have experiences in different planets, interacting with consciousnesses that are from a different planet as well. And one of the things that from my studies of the Intermissive Course I could find is that depending on the subjects that the intermissivist is taking, they will have some disciplines that will help them broaden their view of the world and the evolution and the universalism in a way that will help them with the tasks that they need to execute once they are born. Or not just because of that, but because for some reason they need to open up their minds, you know? So sometimes they have a previous life where they were like too closed in their own universe, and now for a new stage they really want to open up and be more interactive in the world and with the consciousnesses in a more universalistic way. So this is a good technique to help them open their minds, which is having some kind of field trip to different planets just to watch, sometimes to interact, sometimes to interview extra-physical consciousnesses from other planets, and just experience a very, very different kind of existence. So some people who have had retrocognitions about these experiences in other planets while in the Intermissive Course, they say that this is like an impactotherapy, you know? It's something so overwhelming that they just will never be the same again, you know? It's like a sort of an engraving of ideas of universalism, cosmoethics, and so forth, that they just can't think the same way anymore. So probably some of us, or many of us, intermissivists, have had these kinds of experiences. And besides this, obviously, we have had experiences in other planets as well throughout our evolution. We are not, we have not become who we are at this stage from, you know, being a virus up to this moment, just in this planet. So sometimes we it's not very common, but we can have retrocognitions from previous lives that we had in different planets as well. So it could be a possibility. But what was the question you asked in the group, Mika?
I don't remember now. I asked too many
Yes.
questions.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the question was, see if I'm right, okay? The question about these stages, you are asking which stage would the consciousness be ready for an intermissive course, where in which stage intermissivists would be sort of like, you know, in a moment, in an evolutionary moment, that they could be invited to an intermissive course. Well, am I right?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Okay. So what do you guys think? I want to hear from you. So we have here the group karmic course, right? In the screen. And we have the 5 stages that we talked last session. And in which of these stages do you think that people would be ready, let's say, to do an intensive course?
I think that I think that from stage 4 and of course stage 5. But what I found interesting I don't know, in my case, and I talk with so many other friends about this topic, whatever we are in stage 4 or in stage 5, we are also connected with some unhealed or not, we didn't recycle some old karmic intertwinement, so to speak, because we still have something maybe with our, I don't know, maybe we are some parts from interprison or for stage 2 or for stage 3. I don't think it's a clear separation between those stages, but this is what I'm thinking now, that we have roots on each stage, but we would like to be more on stage 4 and stage 5.
Cool. Anyone else would like to give your thoughts on this? No? You guys are too quiet today. What's going on?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Felipe.
Well, I would say the stage 3 it's at least the level that you start to think about everything and try to yes, it's the recomposition. So you start to think twice about the things, and I think it's the moment that you start to be ready to see the things in more broad picture and these kind of ideas that are more broader than we are used to do in the past.
Yeah, makes sense. Anyone else has different idea or want to share your thoughts?
I mean, I guess I'd be curious what you'd say, Tathiana, because so I would agree with, I think 3 is that recomposition is a stage where we're moving towards wanting to I guess undo and so our energy is going towards assistance and towards healing and so on. So I mean, that seems like a good entry point to perhaps start an intermissive course if that's if sort of multidimensionality and that's part of our world, of our understanding at that stage as a consciousness. But I guess I think the point that Mickey was making about how in each of us we have in some ways potentially in all of these stages. Maybe when you say here, living life in absolute truths, immaturity, egocentrism, wars, terrorism, genocide in number 1, that's pretty extreme, right? But yeah. There are probably relationships. There have been relationships in periods in my life where that I can like, not war, terrorism, genocide, but that kind of energy, the black and white thinking was present. Yeah, victimization, I mean, they're not so strong, but definitely I can recognize that in my own life and recomposition. And so we kind of spread out. I think there's like different strands of our energy still dealing with different elements of our karmic past. So I guess in that point, like we're not just fully one stage, we're sort of spread out. What do you reckon about that?
Yeah, I love the ideas everyone is sharing, because it's it's always good to think it's not that simple, because we are talking about consciousnesses, right? And we are all different. But before I speak, I want to hear Magali, because she's raising her hand.
So one thing caught my attention. In recomposition, they say, one starts assisting the victim from the past. I think when you start to assist, it can be meaning that you are, you know, in a situation of receiving assistance, to do assistance also, even if it's your victims from the past, but you know, you are in a position of helping those people. So I think in that case, would you could have some help here in the recomposition, so you could be in an intermissive course.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But I
Mika?
would like also to ask, sorry, about stage 3 and about what Magali just pointed out about there are so many people who are assisting their, I don't know, other people, their family and other maybe former victims from a religious point of view. There are so many people who are still doing good deeds, but because they have a religious past ground, and also they are still believing, I don't know, in Jesus, and or look at us in this world with this war. They are doing assistance in their own way.
But it depends of the assistance, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Depend of the type of assistance you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking here when you guys were speaking, many people came in my mind, in my memory, because I've met people who were just like extremely religious, and then they recuperated cons, and then they recycled their whole lives. They understood they were intermissivists, and they just changed their lives. So it's really hard to say, but let's look at this together. So stage 1, it's clear that it's sort of impossible for someone to do an intermissive course, right? Because they're just like in their own world, and there's no reason, right? They are conceals, reurbanized consciousnesses, and that's it. This stage 2, when I think about stage 2, I think about my cat, the cat I used to have when we took him to the vet, or to take to take a bath or something like that, and he was just like trying to escape anyway, and he just couldn't, because the vet was holding him or anyone else was holding him, and he just couldn't get away. So when I think about this stage, I think about someone who has like many connections, like group karmic connections, that just can't let them think freely or do whatever they want to do. They have these interpretations, and it's really hard for them to do anything over that situation, right? Kim?
Yeah, I was just going to say, as you were talking, I realized that when I'm thinking about having those energies in my life, probably what I'm really thinking about is the consciential basement, that period in my life, because it's that stage in my life where I would associate elements of stages 1 and 2 sort of being there in different ways in my life. And I guess that's perhaps the distinction, right? Is it a consciential basement, so leftovers kind of thing, or is it the phase that we're fully in? Is it our full reality? And I guess that's perhaps the difference, isn't it?
Exactly. Once is like parts of our past or the levels of maturity that we still have, and the other one is like the actual evolutionary level, right? But anyway, and then in stage 3, oh, before I go, Grace raised her hand. Hey, Grace.
Hi, I just wanted to add to the stage 2 that the consciousness in that stage would be exposed to the intermissive course through the assistance. So that's when they start to question things, and they are exposed to that, and then that's when they can make decisions what to do next, or decide not to do anything to improve themselves. But I think in that stage there is a possibility that they can move up pretty fast depending on their awareness, level of awareness.
Yeah, I would say that they come to a stage where they start being aware of the wrongdoings, you know. They start to think that they could have done something different. But the main problem in this stage is the people from the past who comes back against them, and the number of interprisons that they have just doesn't let them walk, you know. So that's the main issue that happens in this stage. But I would say that depending on the consciousness, they would be like stage 2, stage 3, you know, like they are in a transition. And depending on the level of the transition and the merit that they have, if they have, you know, something, a positive balance in their personal, how do you say that, personal evolutionary register. So if they have a positive balance, they might be invited to an intermissive course because of their leadership in the past, maybe. Because leaders in the past, they have some good value, right? Because if I am a leader, if I change, and if I have a group of people who used to be led by me and who admire me for some reason, or who would follow what I said and stuff. So if I changed, this could have, you know, a big effect on a group of people. So depending on the, you know, the past, the merits, the strengths, the strong traits that the person have, why not, right? So sometimes people are like between stage 2 and 3, right? And in stage 3, as Kim said, they are in the recomposition and they start to assist victims from the past. So they are aware of what they have done, and they want to be proactive to clean up the mess, right? So this shows that the person is emotionally more mature to, you know, to face this level of self-research that is required in the Intermissive Course. And also they are open to unteach what they have taught wrong. They want to set a good example. So the levels of assistentiality are, you know, are higher than the previous stage. So I would say that for sure, stage 3 would be the stage where people would be more ready for an intermissive course. However, there are other factors, because as I said, if the balance of your personal evolutionary register is not positive, it wouldn't really work. You have to, still do some pre-work before. It might take a few lives. But I would say stage 3 is probably the one that is more related to, someone being open and ready for an intensive course. Many of us actually are in stage 3. Stage 3, stage 4, right? Again, in this transition, right? Some are more to stage 4, some are more to stage 3, but in the average evolutionary level of our group, I would say that we are sort of like in stage 3, stage 4, right? Yes, Patricia, how are you?
Hello, guys, I'm fine. I'm glad to be here, right?
That's lovely. Lovely to see you. So did you want to comment as well?
Yeah, because I just kind of understood something here. Sometimes we get confused with, or maybe the names of the stages tend us to think that we're in one of the other. For instance, the Sisyphus period or a Sisyphus situation, you tend to feel like a victim, because everything goes wrong. You make such an effort, you construct a lot of things, and you do have a lot of extra physical pressure and demands from the past, right? But then I just kind of realized that these stages are kind of what is most important there. And maybe the victimization, when we say, oh, I'm being a victim of a situation, this is really hard to do, is this Sisyphus period and not the victimization stage of recomposition. Because as I understood right now, the victimization stage, if you're really into that, you probably will struggle. You won't be able to really accomplish things due to the still higher level of intermission, right? And yeah, you can feel like a victim, but maybe this is the Sisyphus process, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Mika.
Yeah, I would like to tell you something. I just made a connection between a meditation I had last week, and it was wow, amazing, about and egocentrism. And my helpers told me something I still find very interesting. It was about the relative truth, and they told me that it's quite philosophical, and it's about how we are made, how it's about the choices we are made from an egocentric point of view. And they told me that we can evolutionary stages, they start to go up and up to as long as our egocentric choices diminished. I mean, it's a connection between the choices we made from our egocentric point of view and the evolutionary stages. And it was something like relative truths are related with our choices and from our ego. As long as we start to get free from our ego, we are getting closer and closer to another profound meaning of life and evolution, and this could lead to the absolute truth. But it's just now I made this connection between our topic from today and my experience from last week. Thank you.
Grace?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add a little bit to what Patricia started talking about, the difference between the stage 2 and 3 that is clear is in a stage 2, when you realize that, you know, start to question things, or maybe that hasn't been the right decision, maybe I could have done it differently, and, you know, obviously recognizing that it can go through multiple lifetimes. In stage 3, however, what's the difference is that there is more effort into that. So that Sisyphus period is like you persisting, you really putting a lot of effort into that recycling and assisting. While with the stage 2, it's almost like you want to help, but you often feel powerless. You either don't have resources or skills, or if you do know someone, like you're exposed to someone from the intermissive course, you may still feel a lot of shame and or not to reach out for help. So I think that's the clear distinction between, you know, starting to like waking up and then putting a lot of effort into consistent, more or less recycling.
Yeah, makes sense. I guess one of the main things is the self-awareness, right? On stage 2, the person is probably like, what is going on? Everyone is against me. What have I done, right? And stage 3, they're like, oh God, yeah, I messed it up and now I have to clean it up, right? And every door, every drawer, every door they open, there is a mess. It's dirty, so it's like never ending. So I guess this is what makes stage 3 different, because they are aware of, you know, they messed it up. And that's why it says there, demands patience and persistence, because it's the moment you actually start cleaning the mess you've done for centuries and centuries. And sometimes lives and lives and lives. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. And remember, guys, this is like just organized in a way to help us understand these stages, but it's not just like black and white, right? But cool. Let's go ahead, guys, because we haven't even started our session today, right? But wasn't it interesting to talk about this? Right? I think it was really, really cool. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this. We are going now. Where's Michiko? Are you there? Or oh, there you are. Okay. So let's get the first question to everyone. Guys, today we are going to actually answer the intermissivist test, okay? I know, or I hope you guys have done this while studying the book, but now we are going just to do a quick poll, and you can leave 1 and 2, Michiko, that's okay, if possible. So we are going to have the 10 questions, right? Each question is 1 chapter of the book. And now you are going to answer the first question, which is, do you have a sense of immortality and awareness of eternal life inside of yourself, in your personal essence? So try to think about, you know, since you were born, your earliest memories, how you felt about life, or
can I just ask, how do we answer this? I'm not sure. We click, does it show anything, or
how do you answer that, Michiko?
I can't see if I've answered it or not.
It may be because we're hosts. Can everyone else answer?
Yeah, it worked for me.
There is a yes and no a box?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so the hosts can't see.
Ah,
Has anyone answered?
yes. 6
Oh, look
people.
at this. Who is this beautiful?
Ah,
Oh,
now you've just unhost me, Michiko.
I host
Oh
you.
my God, thank you.
look
Yeah.
at this. Beauty. Cool. So everyone has answered this first one. Let's go to question number 2.
Okay.
Is this? Okay, cool. So question number 2. Do you have a deep-rooted aspiration regarding taking useful advantage of the current existence, searching for discernment, general knowledge, and greater self-awareness? If you have any questions, just ask, okay, guys?
I find it so hard to imagine someone being in this meeting and saying no to that question.
Oh, that's totally fine. Really, that's totally fine.
Yes, but very unlikely.
Well, Kim, I was thinking about my childhood, and I would say no. I was thinking actually
Yeah,
my
yeah.
life that I would answer that as a no.
Definitely get me as a teenager, probably the same thing.
That's funny because
Yeah.
you're commenting on that question right now.
Cool. Let's do 2 more, Michiko. Or maybe you can do 5 now, because then if we don't have much time, it's gonna be easier. This is 3, right? So, do you have an internal absence of mortifying doubts during adulthood? Yeah, in this question, Professor Valdo is very clear. He's talking about adulthood, right? Because obviously when we are kids, we have all kinds of fears and doubts. But in adulthood, have you got any internal absence of mortifying doubts? And obviously, we all have doubts, right? But do you have any kind of, doubt or issue, phobia that stops you from doing what you need to do? That's what we are talking about, okay? And remember, your names, we can't see your names, okay? So feel free to answer yes or no. We have no idea who is answering the questions. Cool. Let's go to the next one. Do you have a natural, intimate acceptance of the theory of seriexis as a fact incorporated into day-to-day existence? So the main thing here is seriexis. So the fact that you are born, you have your life, you die, you have an extraphysical life, and then you are born again intraphysically, then extraphysically, and this is how the flow of evolution is, right? All right, let's go to the 5th one. Have you experienced enlightening inspirations, innate ideas about your destiny, personal career, proexis, or human life, seriexis? The main topic in this question is innate ideas, okay? Okay? All right, so Michiko, after a few minutes, we go back and do the last 5, okay? Awesome. I'm curious to see the results. Good, good, good. So let's start with chapter 9 today, healthy self-retrocognitions. So in this chapter, I guess the main thing is the differentiation between retrocognitions in general and what we really are looking for here, which is the positive evolutionary self-retrocognition, right? So another important aspect of this chapter that I wanted to highlight is the scientific posture of investigation as many of us, when we start researching previous experiences, lives, and work with self-retrocognitions, we tend not to deal with this information with the mental soma, right? Because it's something natural. We are dealing with our past, and usually when we start having experiences or accessing experiences from the past, they are usually more traumatic, and we just can't deal with the emotions, right? So every time we think about experiencing or remembering past lives or experiences, having retrocognitions, this is one aspect that is very important to highlight, right? The scientific posture of investigation. The other point that I wanted to highlight here is the retrocognition of the past, the last intermissive period, as being the most important at this stage for us. So working to remember the experiences we had before we were born in the Intermissive Course, so we can have an idea of what disciplines we have studied in the past, and the clauses of our praxis, right? I guess this would be the most important goal in terms of self-retrocognition at this moment. So we could actually download all the information that we had from the Intermissive Course. And do you have any questions, guys, or any comments or any ideas on this topic of retrocognitions that you wanted to share? No worries. Let's go ahead. We are going to do breakout rooms now. And I'm going to give you one brainstorm topic, okay? And you are going to discuss this with your group. So what you're going to brainstorm about? You are going to work with the group and make a list of possible extra-physical themes related to the Intermissive Course that you could remember in a retrocognition, okay? For example, as I said, the most interesting or relevant retrocognition that we could have at this moment would be remembering topics of the Intermissive Course, right? Experiences, ideas, thoughts, what you studied, how you prepared, conversations with people, whatever situations that you had experienced in the Intermissive Course that could help you in this praxis right now, right? So the brainstorm is, you're going to make a list of possible extra-physical themes related to the Intermissive Course that you could remember in a retrocognition. So let's imagine you are now here, you have a retrocognition from the Intermissive Course. What kind of memories could you have? What kind of ideas, memories, images, or whatever? It could be infinite. This list could be infinite, but I wanted to hear what you guys would brainstorm about, okay? Is it clear, guys? Yes? So we are going to give you 7 minutes. Is 7 minutes okay? Do you agree? Yes? Awesome. So we're going to give you 7 minutes, and then we are back to an open discussion, okay? You are kidding. It's been 7 minutes.
That was so abrupt.
Too fast.
7 minutes.
Oh, we are having such a good conversation. All right, guys. So I want to hear your thoughts. how was your brainstorm? What is the list of possible extra-physical themes related to the Intermissive Course that you could remember in a retrocognition now? What are the ideas you guys had?
Well, I don't think we followed the instructions exactly, but we had a so we talked about I guess the feeling of the environment, the uplifting feeling of sort of like university, but better, more I don't know what the more mental somatic, I suppose, or more connected to everybody. And then I suppose maybe we did follow the instructions. And then I don't know, Michiko spoke about learning how to project, doing a projection class. Which
Yeah,
sounded really cool.
this could be a good retrocognition, right? And when you are like taking projection classes, learning techniques to have an out-of-body experience, and how to keep your psychosoma more subtle, maybe, to be able to is it volitate? How do you say that in English?
Fly.
Yeah, volitate.
Fly is good.
Yeah, so that would be an awesome retrocognition, right? Because sometimes you learn techniques that you could apply now. So if you have a retrocognition of that specific class where you're learning techniques to have an out-of-body experience, that would be really cool. Magali, you wanna add some?
I had an experience. I couldn't talk when I don't know if the guys heard, because it was in the end about cosmoethic. I remember a class of cosmoethics, and that was impressive because I remember 2 classes that was in my hypothesis. The projection was from the Intermissive Course. One was an exo projection to another planet to see animals and things. And I think my theme in this life is universalism. And so it was really nice. And I studied biology also. So when I was there, it was time ago and it was really interesting to see this consciousness there. And we were just studied the consciousness, not only the body as in biology. It was really interesting. And the other one was cosmoethic. So I have a few of those things.
That's really cool. That's awesome. In our group, we talked about someone could have a retrocognition of a topic relevant to that consciousness, right? A topic relevant to their lives and to the lives of the group, the evolutionary group they were living with in this life. So I could have a retrocognition, for example. So the example we talked about was someone who could be who could have had a past related to wars, for example, in Belicism. And then in the Intermissive Course, they were aware of that past and they were like, wow, that's really bad. How can I just change this, right, from here to the future? And then they planned future life and a proexis based on pacifism. So that would be an interesting moment to remember, you know, like the exact moment where that person was like, oh, aware of all that past and now wanting to, you know, make a change in their evolution, and then planning something that has to do with the opposite, which would be pacifism. I think this would be a very interesting kind of retrocognition, right? But who else? No other kinds of things that you discussed?
I also I thought that what I remembered, it was the atmosphere during those classes I had on intermissive course. And for me, most important, what I remember, and it's still very present in my life, it's the friendship with all of the other participants. Most of them I don't know. I didn't met them yet for the moment, but I can wait. Last weekend I realized I know one of them, and I'm very happy. And it's, for me, what I remember is that things are easy and done with joy, and everything during those classes was with ease, not with burden. Everything was very, and for me, very logical and mathematical, and with this vision and being sharp and understanding very easy so many difficult things or ideas or concepts, so to speak. And also what I remember is that things of being erudite, I don't know how it's about, I don't know, high concepts on life, on evolution, and everything was very, I don't know, our minds were expanded for all those subjects we were talking about. And what I remember is that me and my friends, we all were so curious to find new things, to go to another level, to understand more and more, and to see more and more and more. And about what I realized, since these things with being connected, it's an innate idea connected with, I don't know, with people, with conscient, with consciexes, with other planets, with beings from other planets, with everything. These things with connection, it's like we are breathing air. It's an absolute truth, so to speak, that we all are connected. Thank you.
I had one experience pretty similar to yours in terms of the Holothosene, you know, this energy of groupality, evolution, friendship, and evolutionary ideas. And even in this chapter, I talk a little about one of the experiences I had. And I remember that when I was working with energies, and then I saw myself in this place where I couldn't see where the place was, but I could feel the people who were there, a group of people. And the craziest thing was that I could feel what they were feeling, and I could read what they were thinking. And the way they thought about me and felt about me was totally different than the way I felt about myself. It was hilarious. It was as if they were like looking at me as if they were looking at somebody else. The way they looked at all my strong traits and not the weak traits, which was what I was used to think of, right? So it was very interesting to see that, and the sense of friendship as well. So yeah, this was a very good kind of experience or retrocognition, right? But yes, Grace.
So I just wanted to share Yeah, let me lower the hand. I have a conscious memory of coming here for others. And it's interesting, like during this life, when someone, let's say, we talk about those stages today, when someone is in, let's say, experiencing a lot of that victimization and expressing perhaps some complaints about life or situations, not knowing that things could have been different if it wasn't for the assistance. They could have been way worse. So it's like, it's interesting how you can see like a bigger perspective of things that sometimes some of us don't, and we only see it through our own experience, if you may. So you think, oh, let's say my mom died, and my life is really bad, and what can I do? But she could have stayed, and she could have done something really bad, for example, that could have affected the life and the whole group in a completely different way. So I found that fascinating to see how we often don't see the bigger picture. We just see through our own experiences, and not through the let's say the helpers.
Yeah, and that's when when we are in these kinds of situations that we're just sort of like repeating what we were doing in previous lives, and we are back to looking at our own ego again. And sometimes that's when helpers sponsor some kind of retrocognition like that, so we can have this impactful therapy in order for us to stop and think, oh, what am I doing in my life? This is wrong. So this is interesting to see. And I was reading this treatise. It's called Syriaxology. Unfortunately, it's only in Portuguese. It's a treatise, a huge book, very interesting, from Professor Pedro Fernandes, who is a specialist in the theme of retrocognitions and has been researching this for over a decade. And he talks about some of the topics that we could have retrocognitions related, right, to the Intermissive Course. And he says some pretty interesting things that I wanted to share with you guys for us to have a think. So he talks about the mea culpa. Do you say mea culpa as well in English? Yes, right? The mea culpa moment, which is that moment in the Intermissive Course where you're like, yeah, I messed it up. It was my fault. There's nothing I can do to hide this. It's so obvious. And now what am I going to do from here, right? So you can have a retrocognition just of that specific moment, because this will be like a real, like a shock, right? If you have this kind of memory. So this is one of the examples he gives. The other one is the interplanetary field trips. And we talked about this already, right, today. The other one is when we have retrocognitions about the non-amendable clauses of our praxis. So when we plan our praxis, we plan under different scenarios, right? Because things can change, right? The reality of the planet, of the life, the group karma changes. So we have a level like some flexibility to make some changes. However, there are some clauses that are just non-amendable, that we have to do, that will not be changed. And sometimes we can have a retrocognition where these non-amendable clauses will be shown to us again. Just as a reminder. Just like, hello, don't forget this. So these kinds of retrocognitions are normally sponsored by the helpers, right? The other kind of theme that Professor Pedro Fernandes mentions in the treatise is barotrospheric rescues. Do you know what barotrosphere is? Yes? Okay, so sometimes during this extraphysical period where we are super aware of our reality, we are more mature, our mental soma is like in full steam, and we start to look at our group karma, and we see sometimes that people from our group karma are in the barotrosphere. So if possible, whenever possible, with the help of more evolved consciousnesses, we might experience a situation where we go all the way to the barotrosphere to rescue someone from our group karma. So that process, which is pretty complex, because once we go to the barotrosphere, the probability that our level of conscientiality or lucidity or awareness will lower. So it's a pretty complex process. So sometimes we have retrocognitions of this kind of work that we have done with the helpers before we were born. And another topic he talks about is when we remember people who are very rare friendships. These friendships are with people that we have built this relationship throughout lives and lives and lives. And at this stage, they are the best, let's say, the best friends we could have in terms of evolution, because they are helping us to evolve as well as we are helping them. So some people, I don't know if you guys have very true friendships in your lives, but if you do, there is a probability that you have interacted with them in the Intermissive Course as well, right? Cool. So unfortunately, I cannot share this book with you guys because it's in Portuguese. Hopefully sometime in the future we'll have it translated in English, and we'll be able to discuss more about healthy self-retrocognitions, right? But guys, before we go ahead to the next chapter, do you have any questions about chapter 9, healthy self-retrocognitions, or any comments? Okay, good. Michiko, let's do the last 5 questions. Okay, guys, so let's answer the intermissivist test. Michiko is going to put the questions, the last 5 questions, and I will give you the final results only in the next session, okay? So you are curious, you come back next time.
Tachi, sorry, I'm having some problems.
Okay, no problem.
In the poll.
Yeah, just while you try to fix it, I'll just go ahead with the
Okay.
next chapter, And anytime when you are done, just let me know. Okay? All right, guys. So we are coming to the last chapter of the book, which is called A Notion Regarding the Evolutionary Maxim Mechanism. And if you read this chapter, you're going to see that it's sort of like talking about really broad and advanced ideas, right? And before we started, Kim was talking to us, the team here, about how this chapter is actually talking about, you know, it has this true idea or Holothosene of evolutionary group, right? And a huge connection with the cosmos, the universe, the evolution, and how we are all mini cogs in this maxim mechanism. Some of us are more aware of this reality, and some of us are like less aware. But this is not me, okay? I didn't create the chapter like this. I just followed the ideas of the intermissivist test. So it's very interesting to see from the first question to the last question how the level of complexity of understanding is different, right? So in this this chapter, I wanted to highlight some things, which is the sense of belonging to something greater and galactic, and a sense of commitment to this broader work. So this is something when I was reading this chapter today, I was thinking about us as a group. And you see, most of us here, all of us, we are in a different part of the world. But for some reason, at least during these months, we have been connected and we have been talking about some advanced topics. So what kind of connection do we have? Where do we know each other from? What are bonds from the past? Do we have any projects to work together? How are we together as a group contributing to the evolution of the planet? So I started to think about these crazy things, and I want to hear from you. Your thoughts. Or am I just thinking too much? Anyway, have a think, and we are going to discuss this later on, okay? And now, Michiko, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still having a problem. I'm trying to fix it in the background. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Do you think we are able to have some breakout room at the moment?
We can do breakout rooms now.
Okay,
I can
cool.
do that for while she is doing. I can.
Okay, thanks, Magali.
You can do that?
Yeah, I was doing that before.
Okay, cool. All right, so what we are going to do is we are going to put you guys in different breakout rooms, right? And what you're going to be discussing in these mini groups is how can we as a group make a difference, free thinking, okay? Free thinking. Be very like open-minded. It could be a project, it could be energies, it could be penta, it could be other kinds of interactions like this one. So it's just like a brainstorm on how can us mini cogs in the maxi mechanism that are at this moment working together, what could we do now, today, at this moment, to make our contribution to the evolution of this planet? This is the question. Okay? Got it? Ah, Tathiana, but this is too advanced. It's too much. No, it's not. Okay, so let's try to be bold, okay? In the perfect world, right? Does it make sense? So just simple things, list. What could we do now as a group to make a difference, a contribution as mini cogs in the maxi mechanism? Okay, cool. Let's do it, Magali. Okay.
Tati, just to you to know, we can do the poll whenever you want, okay?
So let's do it now because we don't have much time. And then go to the discussion, okay?
Okay, see if everyone is seeing it.
Yes, so question number 6. Are you self-motivated to research and execute assistential or beneficial parapsychic energetic practices? So this is the motivation to use the parapsychism and bioenergies. Okay?
To share the results now,
No, no sharing today, okay?
Okay.
You can go to the next question.
Okay. Next question. How can I go to the next question, Michiko, or share the results? So
Nope. So end poll,
I did.
and now go back and then
Relaunch
click
poll.
on the next one. Nope.
No.
Go back, hit the back
results?
button.
Okay, the back button. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, guys.
No problem. Question number 7. Have you experienced sporadic yet convincing and pacifying parapsychic and animistic self-perceptions? So we are talking here about parapsychism that are convincing. It doesn't need to be like all the time. It can be sporadic, but convincing and pacifying to you, right? Which means the experiences that you have are positive, okay? Everyone, I answered? Yes, right? So let's go to the next one. Question 8. Have you had indefinite yet persistent intuitions about some important existential task, proaxis, to be realized or that is rapidly developing? The main aspect of this question is the proaxis. If you have a sense of proaxis, the intuitions that you have something to execute. Cool. Let's go to question number 9. Have you experienced logical, coherent, definitive, and enriching self-retrocognitions? Okay. 10. Have you got a personal and self-aware identification of the cosmos, life, and order in the universe, which exists under the permanent control of evolved consciousness or consciences. This talks mainly about the identification of the cosmos, the order of the universe, right? The maxi mechanism. Remember, if you didn't understand the question, the answer is no straight away. That's what happened to me in this question when I answered the test the first time. Okay, good. So Magali, can you save these results? And we'll share with the group in the last session we have on the 9th of December. Okay. All right, guys. So we just had the breakout rooms. We talked about, well, I hope you guys talked about what we can do as a group, as mini cogs in the maxi mechanism. And I'm going to start sharing what we talked about in our group. We talked about working with universalism and peace in our, we didn't specifically say how, but this topic came up. And we also talked about investing on lucid projections. So this was actually very interesting to hear Patricia talking about it. Patricia, do you want to talk about what you thought in terms of investing on lucid projections?
Yes, it was an idea kind of like 2 years ago that it felt like an invitation of the helpers to better invest in lucid projections. So we could help, especially in the internationalization projections, maybe English speaking, so we can better help the intermissivists to kind of recall or awake to their proexis intermissivists that are all over the world, and it felt like an ongoing process, like join a Team X, in more permanent basis to help this intermissivists spread all over the world, to trying to get together and stuff like that. And then Tathiana just shared her project, and I think now from this point on we need to start working together, really, right? That was really interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Very cool. And I also talked about trying to work as a group to interact more professionally with the extra-physical helpers who have to do with the international strategies to access the intermissivists. Not in a dynamic or anything like that, at least at this stage, but with the development of parapsychism, but having the intention to actually connect with these helpers and have their guidance on what we need to do to access the intermissivists that are lost, and share these ideas as a group, because this would make us more proactive, and this would allow the helpers to access us better, because they know we want to work together as a team, as like lucid mini cogs, and we could have some kind of inspirations on what to do, the projects that we need to work on as a group, and as an international group of conscientiologists. And maybe this could be a good thing, right? A positive thing to do. But I want to hear from the other groups as well. We have like just a few minutes, and I want to hear from you guys.
Well, we also talk in my group about this idea to keep connections between people that are not in cognopolis in Brazil, or that are spread around the world. Yes, and how this would be important to assess the intermissivists and this kind of keep these connections. And I think this is more or less in line with the idea of the expansion of conscientiology to other countries. And I have seen some movements like the groups that are learning English and groups that are organizing courses in Europe, for example, and now there is this international congress in Australia also. So these are kind of initiatives that are important to keep the connections and also to assess the intermissivists in all the world.
Very nice. Yeah, very interesting. You know, when I hear Patricia sharing her experience that she had 2 years ago, and then connecting with my experiences, and then what Felipe is saying, talking about the conference coming up, and you're like, oh, go. We're just like guided. We don't even know. We're not even aware that like all the process is extra physical. We're just like trying to make things happen, right, in the intraphysical dimension, which is really interesting. But what else, guys?
I was thinking that maybe first of all, it would be better if we start to behave like a group, because we don't share our experiences, we don't share our thoughts, our insights. I mean, maybe you are sharing one with each other, but to be a group, to have common interests, to have common goals, to have common projects, we have to start to be together, to act like a group. And I mean, I would like to hear from your experiences. I would like to hear from your insights about how it is for you to go, I don't know, to have a lucid projection, to compare with mine, and to have a place where we can share our experiences, because maybe sometimes I see things from different lenses than from the conscientiological ones, and I would like to find together common points in what we are experiencing in real life, in extra-physical life. For me, doing extra-physical doing Reurbecks, it's very easy and very common, and I would like, I don't know, we don't know anything about each other. We are for the moment, I know that we are together now as a group, but I wonder if in a month we will send messages. I mean, maybe we are connected in extra-physical dimension, but we have to make it real as a conscience. This is my idea. It's possible. Thank you.
Yeah, I know it's really frustrating sometimes, because even though we have a huge group, we don't have many opportunities yet to actually interact and share ideas, right? I think this is something that could be a good project for us. Maybe in future book clubs, think about other kinds of dynamics or activities, or even use content of the books to create different kinds of work together, right? Cool.
It's difficult also because we are in an online space, right? And maybe people don't feel like sharing a lot and have this space like Mika do, like she shared the things on the WhatsApp. I think it's a new thing for everyone to share in the WhatsApp their experience. And you are so open, Mika. Maybe your example is getting others also to do the same.
Yeah. Guys, we don't have time anymore. We're ran out of time already. We have the intermission, which is reading the conclusion of the book, and the entry level of the encyclopedia, which is in the last part of the book, and do some lab as well on retrocognitions from the Intermissive Course. I will ask the team to put this in the WhatsApp group because we don't have time anymore. But I really hope you guys can have a look at it and work on it, because it's the last homework that we have. And since we are in this vibe with the helpers here, let's make use of this experience, right? And have some inspirations. But that's it, guys. We are meeting on the 9th of December for our last session. And I look forward to meeting you there.
Thanks, Tathiana. Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys.